What's up, everybody? This is Romi and JBear, and you are watching Marble Chats. On today's episode, we are going to talk about. What the hell? Isn't your heart over here, bro?
It's right here.
All right, whatever. On today's episode, we are going to talk about frame. Frame. So, Juan, talk to me about frame. What is frame for the person who does not know what frame is?
So, frame is a rectangular piece of wood that goes around your picture. No? Not funny? Okay.
Yeah, keep it going.
For dancing,
Mr. Funny Man.
In the dancing scene, or for a dancer, a frame is your space and your connection that the arm structure that you use to connect with other partners, especially in partner dancing.
I like to call that port-a-bras, carriage of the arms.
For those who are not fancy or French,
carriage of the arms.
It's called a frame.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about frame. So you're talking dance frame. What's happening with the frame? What's wrong with the frame? Is it good? Is it bad?
So in the dancing scene, generally speaking, a good majority of the beginner dancers don't have a frame because that's not something that is generally taught. Whenever you take a class, a beginner introductory class to salsa, bachata, or whatever it is that you're learning, not kizomba because kizomba you connect to each other. You don't have to worry that.
I think you're just creating a.
Anyways, generally speaking, the instructors don't teach you how to connect to your partner, how to have frame. They only teach you, hey, this is a cool new pattern. You're gonna learn this to turn. You're gonna learn this footwork and go out in the world and be somebody. You know?
Well, I have to be fair though. Are we talking about the instructors at the social clubs or social dance in the studio, or are we talking about actual dance classes?
Generally, the ones I'm talking about are the ones at social clubs.
Okay.
Now, that being said, there are some instructors at the dance studios that don't focus on this enough or don't focus on this at all, which is also wrong. No, don't do that.
According to you, though.
There are some that I'm aware of. Not many. There's still some of them do teach, but there's still some. But the biggest issue is on the clubs for the beginner dancers.
Okay.
The reason I bring this up is because I like to emphasize, and I always tell people this when I teach class, or when I used to teach classes, that the frame is the most important part of your dancing. Because that is the language tool they use to communicate to each other. If you have frame, you can follow just about any move. If you have frame, you can lead just about any move. Or at least you can understand how to lead it properly to begin with. Because we don't lead with our arms, or you don't follow with your arms, you lead with your entire frame. That's the way it should be.
I feel like that's very confusing.
Okay.
Because you technically do lead with your hands, though.
Right. You're using your hands through your frame. But that's the concept that needs to be understood, that needs to be explained to people is what's the difference between leading with your arms and leading with your frame. Okay. And the difference is you can lead this, or you can lead with your entire frame, with your entire body, especially when it comes to a crossbody lead. Come here. No, you lead with your entire frame.
Okay, so I guess the caveat I want to make sure we understand is that when you're saying frame and leading, because like you said, you could lead this with the crossbody leap, or you could lead this with the whole body. It's just, in your mind, frame is how you're able to lead effectively and communicate effectively.
From my side, yes. There's also the following side.
Okay.
Because as a follower, if you don't have a frame and I give you a turn, you're just going to go like this and just like wrap your arm around yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that a number of times where I turn someone and then say that you're me and I'm you and I'm the person without the frame.
I'd never wear a cardigan, but sure.
Whatever. That you turned me and then I end up like this at the very end and you're like, wait, come back to me.
Uh-huh.
That happens to me quite a bit.
It does.
So does that mean I messed up or you messed up as a lead or...
Both.
Okay.
First of all, the follower did not have a frame.
Okay.
And she was just kind of like ended up like that.
Probably off camera.
And secondly, it is your fault as well because you didn't recognize that she didn't have a frame and you led her into a move that she wasn't supposed to be doing.
Okay. Now, what if I have some frame and I was keeping that tension there to let her know, yo, don't go all the way out. Like I'm still keeping that there, and that's why she ended up doing this.
As a leader, you have to recognize the moment that she started going over her shoulder to let go of her arm, so that you don't dislocate her shoulder, because that can happen, and that does happen, ladies. If you ever get injured, sometimes partially your fault, sometimes partially the leader's fault, and in reality, it's everybody's fault to get how you get injured. But if you have frame, you can avoid that. You can prevent the dislocating or getting injured, especially shoulders.
Stretching too much on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are key characteristics we need to know? Well, it's easier for us because we lead. So as leaders or leads in the dance community, what key characteristics of frame do we always have to keep in mind?
Always keep your elbows in front of you. Never let your elbows go back behind this line. And same, this is actually for both leaders and followers. And don't let your elbows cross in front of you as well, your entire arm. Make sure when you rotate, you move your entire body with it. And the other big thing, and I see this very often, especially when I teach lessons to beginners, you start dancing and you start feeling the music. You're like this the whole time, and you're dancing. Hey, let's go here and let's go here. That's called noodle arms.
Oh, you mean the hands like this?
Yes. Fabulous. You're having fun. You can do that on your own. If you're connecting with somebody else, when you're doing this, you're shaking the girl and you're immediately compromising your frame and removing it from the equation. So the follower already knows, oh, this guy doesn't know how to lead, or his lead is different, and I'm going to have to be very careful, or I'm going to have to make sure that I do my own thing.
Okay, well, I think that's false.
Fight me on it. Let's hear it. No, let's hear it.
Why do I always set the table? I'm sorry, audio. That's the mic.
Sorry, audio engineer.
Yeah, so because I feel like, yes, this, if you don't know how to lead, is going to mess everything up. But if you do know how to lead, this here is adding a little extra effort or changing of it. So, for example, if I want to mess with you, and by messing with you, I mean I want to challenge you mentally and physically, where we're doing our basics, say we're salsa stepping, right? Basic, and we're keeping this direction, right, of movement. And then I want to see, can you do that? And then do this, kind of like hopping and tapping your head and doing this, you know? I want to do that.
Yes, you still have a frame.
Okay.
And you're still having the connection with to lead the movement that you want, and then you're breaking that frame immediately after. And that's fine. It's one of those things that you need to learn the rules before you can break them. You can't just break the rules in the beginning.
I like that.
So, yeah, you can do that as soon as you get the frame and the connection that you're supposed to have.
Okay, so what are some easy ways to let people learn the basics of frame?
Oh, man. Take a class that teaches you.
Okay, you just told me, though, like, you know, generally speaking, a lot of people in the social scene, maybe some not even in the social scene, don't teach frame. Maybe that's because they don't know how to teach it. Maybe they're not comfortable with it. Or maybe they are trying to teach it, but they're not teaching it well.
It's possible. And, you know, as an instructor, when I was teaching, it took me forever to understand that. And when I got that eureka moment of concept, like, oh, wow, this makes sense. This is how I should be explaining it to people. I started implementing it on my classes, and including, you know, some of the times that I taught at festivals, I usually end up breaking this down a little more. One of the biggest things you can do is whenever you're with a partner, try to lead the moves and try to do just basic moves. What I do is when I'm teaching a class, if you're an instructor, you can steal this. Feel free. I have the leaders face me and I give hand signals so they can know which move I'm trying to do. And I do simple basic stuff like side to side basic, forward basic, or basic in place. Okay. And I give them those three options. The followers are facing away from me and they have their eyes closed, so they can't see what I'm doing.
Oh, so you're in the very front. So say, I'm going to move your stuff real quick. So say you're here. And everyone, these are the couples, these are the leads, these are the follows. The follows back is towards you.
Yep.
And you're giving the signal non-verbally to the leads. And they have to figure out, all right, he wants us to do this, so I got to find a way to make me and my partner do it.
Correct.
Okay.
So that way the follower doesn't know what we're doing, and they're literally learning how to follow. And the leader is learning how to lead because the follower is not doing it on their own. That's something that happens very often in the dancing scene. The follower will back lead the leader, especially for beginner leaders. And I got to tell you, ladies, that is the worst thing you can do. If you want to help somebody grow, somebody get better, you got to let them make their mistakes and realize them. If somebody does a move and it's wrong and you back lead them into being correct, they're going to think, oh, I did it right. This is the way it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So you have to let them make the bad lead so that they can understand. And you can even, I wouldn't say criticize them ever, but if you can tell them like, hey, this is not feeling right, you should be doing it this way. It works sometimes. I had some issues with that on my classes before, so try to discourage much of that.
I like criticism, constructive criticism, and don't be scared of criticism, you know. I think what you're saying when you want the follow to communicate with the lead, they're not leading well. It's just like during your class is my suggestion. I've done it before, and I feel like this works really well. Is give them 30 seconds to just talk.
That's a good idea.
You know, all right, guys. Before we move on to the next subject, just talk with your partner. How did that feel? Did it feel that you were able to communicate and execute that move very well, or did it just feel a little weird? And then have them have that conversation so that now, if I'm the lead, I'm like, hey, Juan. Like, I know we got that move right on timing, according to instructor Romi, but, like, it felt weird, and I had to rush it. Like, and then he's like, oh, okay. If you create that, give him that moment to converse, I think that'll help a lot.
That's not bad, because the issue I had with mine was that it was interrupting the class by having the criticism in between. But that's a good idea. Give him a little break and tell him, like, hey, talk it out.
Yeah. And then I also want to say, I think what you're saying here, standing in front of the couples, the leads over here, I think that's one step too soon.
Okay.
I think you need to start off with something very basic. Remember how you said keep your elbows in front of you for the leads
Oh, I
and
do
the
that.
followers?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell them, this is the first thing I teach when I'm teaching, frame or lead and resistance, push and pull. Keep that there. Maintain the space between the followers. I'm gonna use just one so they can see it. So this is the lead and this is the follow. Maintain this space.
Colors, for sure.
Whatever. Lead, follow. This is the space. And as I tell them to go this way, they have to figure out how to keep their elbows in front of them and keep that distance, equidistance throughout the entire time.
Yep.
Same for going backwards.
Yep.
And this creates that moment where like uncomfortable moment for the students, I feel, because they're not used to having to figure out that moment, especially if they're a new dancer. And I use this all the time when I used to teach the very basics of foundation work. Is all right, ladies, close your eyes. If you're a follower, ladies, close your eyes, and leads, like I would say, I'm gonna be right here, and I'm gonna be like, come to me. Telling them. And then again, keep the equidistance as they're coming towards me. Now I'll be like silently, obviously, to do that. Just the very basics. Because I feel a push and pull is a very basic.
The audio is like this, but it sounds horrible.
I'm sorry, audio. But you get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the easiest ways. You have to create that moment where like the follower has to be able to trust the lead in front of them. Maybe ask them to close their eyes like this. Or something.
I agree. I think I'm pretty sure I stole that from you, and I've actually used that on my classes as well.
Oh yeah, Mr.
Don't
Romi.
let it get to your head. And the other part of that is explaining to them, and this is a little bit more of a complicated concept. Is that even though we're teaching the leader to tell the follower what to do, you also have to be able to listen to them. And if they're not reacting to your lead, you have to understand that, and you have to find a way for them to feel the lead. So if you walk forward and you start walking back, but they're not, you have to adjust and either walk forward again with them to come back to come back around the other way, or break the frame in some way that make sure that nobody gets injured.
Now, are you talking about doing a social dance or doing a lesson?
Both.
Because I think those are two different things, though. So
yeah, but you have to teach them during a lesson.
Okay, so I want to break that down though, because if you're just going both, I feel like that's not going to help people.
It's just lazy answer because I'm lazy.
Easy answer, lazy ass mofo. Oh, sorry, cussing. I didn't say any cuss words. I'm sorry, audio. Like
hashtag I'm sorry, audio.
Well, the thing is for me, like how you said you have to figure out how to keep that lead, communicate. If you're in a class, I feel that you need to tell them straight up at the gate, hey guys, nonverbal. Don't talk. You're going to have to figure out how to speak with your hands. Maybe you have to give a little bit more pressure. And like you were saying, you have to figure out your follow. So if my follow, she's giving me a little bit extra oomph, that means I got to give a little bit more.
Exactly. And that's something else I break in there. Whenever I used to teach classes, it would be, let's try to figure out everybody's energy and how much you put to each other. And I switch them again and see how everybody was different.
So find the equal energy, right? Going opposite directions.
I usually tell them about 50%. Not that means anything because it's 50% of what, but it gives them a general idea of how much energy they're supposed to be putting in there and how they're supposed to match each other.
Yeah. And then now I'll flip that to the social dance part. So say that, again, lead, follow, sorry, I'll keep it going. Lead, follow, you're trying to get that forward and back movement, but your follow, for some reason, cannot figure it out. I think, again, in this, you need to find a way to just get that intention going. Maybe you have to use more of your body. Maybe you're just pushing with your hand, and you have to actually use the rest of your body with it to make her go. Maybe it feels uncomfortable at first, but just like moving your entire body sideways will naturally push her other body going down.
It definitely does, and that's something that tying it back to the beginning when I said kizomba is easier to connect frame. The reason being is that you're dancing close to each other. You're already having that frame connection. The frame is your body.
I disagree with that as well.
It's a lot easier to have frame when you're closer. That's why whenever you do close position, your close position is usually easier to have that frame because it's already there.
I think that there's a like a fake sense of having frame with that because you're like, oh, I have frame because I'm already connected to this person. You're becoming you're getting lazy. You're no longer being self-conscious of your frame.
You're lazy. No, that's true. You should always work on your frame, and the frame definitely affects your kizomba. It's just easier to have that frame when you're closer. than it is with your arms. Eventually, if you practice your frame enough, you can lead things with your pinky finger, and I do that for fun sometimes. You can just have it move around, move back and forth with one hand. But when you're beginning dancing, the closer you have, the easier it is to control your frame.
I still disagree
and
with
especially
that.
if you have a follower that has no frame at all, that is just beginning to dance, the best thing you can do sometimes is to bring them in close. If you're comfortable with that, bring them in close and have that close bachata or close.
No,
kizomba.
I still think that's wrong because what you're doing is you're overcompensating for them. You're not teaching them frame anymore. You're just forcefully moving your partner.
This is social dancing. I'm not trying to teach anybody when I'm social dancing.
Well, we're still talking about frame though.
Yeah.
So when you're in frame mode, like you're still able to establish it. Even if you say she has a weak frame and you want to get close with it to compensate for it, I think now you just messed up. Because there's no more frame there. Now it's just you controlling her body.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
entire purpose of the frame is the equal
And
balance.
I'm talking about the extreme of, we're talking about, let's say, a girl that's completely drunk that just can't dance at all. And
Well, I
has
wouldn't
no
dance
frame.
with her then.
Sometimes you don't have a choice. We're going to have a video about this, about saying no and not saying no. We actually talked about that back in season 1.
I'll say it right now. If you're drunk, please don't ask me to dance because I'm going to have to protect you from bouncing on everybody. And I don't like that.
It happens. It happens and it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, but frame, dude. Frame. I think the easiest way to get the frame going, that push and pull.
It is.
Push and pull.
It's the basic beginning of anything that you teach is the energy. Is being able to control it.
So how do you flip that into a class? A 1 hour class, maybe even a 30-minute class.
That's the issue. Is that
right before social.
you don't have time to do that in a 30-minute class.
I think you do that.
You do?
Because I think if you have a 30-minute or 1 hour class, let me put your decoration back out. If you have an hour or 30-minute class, you have enough time. You know how I heard the other day, there's not enough hours in a day, I don't have enough time. You have enough time, you're just prioritizing your time differently.
Okay.
If you really want to teach the frame, you're going to break it in there. Like how I said, take 30 seconds to talk with your partner, how did that feel? That's only 30 seconds out of your class. Now do it again, do the pattern again, and then talk again. That's a minute. A minute to talk, and then now they've been able to vocalize what they feel their frame is, and now they could adjust.
And that's the thing. You definitely have time to do that if you prioritize your frame and your connection as part of your lesson. The issue with that is going to be that beginner dancers, they don't conceive that as being an accomplishment. They don't see that as like, oh my god, I just learned how to do my frame today. No, they want to learn a pattern because they don't know any better. They're just beginning. They're just starting. And so they want to come out of the beginner lessons feeling like they've accomplished something. Otherwise, why are you paying money to take the lesson, especially like a studio or clubs?
Well, then now I'm thinking you're just a bad instructor. Because
you.
you're not making it interesting for them. You have to make it interesting for the students. So yes, you can make them feel accomplished. If a very, very beginning class, sorry, this is bugging me. If you're a very, very beginning class and you want to teach them the very basics, that's fine. Teach them a basic pattern and then challenge them. All right. I am not going to tell you when to do it. Like, you know how usually you'll count it out? All right, guys, here we go. Now say challenge mode. I'm not saying it. Leaders, you have to do it. Now, if you, the follower, feel that wasn't executed right, take 10 seconds real quick, talk it out, and then restart. Make them have the challenge. And now it'll be more interesting and more fun because you're challenging them to figure it out on their own. So if they do get it without you counting it out for them, and the leads feel that their frame and their lead was well, the followers feel that they understood it easily. Now you've given them a sense of accomplishment.
Well, so that's the challenge, I suppose, for every instructor out there is being able to put together a way to teach them the frame because nobody teaches the frame and connection.
Hey, bro, you're talking to me. Eyes over here. Stop looking at them.
I'm talking to them, the instructors.
All right.
So you have to put emphasis on the frame and connection. Nobody teaches. At least when I started dancing, nobody taught me how to lead or how to follow. I still don't know how to follow. It's very hard. I don't know how ladies do it. But you have to be able to have that in there because it helps them and helps the dancers grow. Even if they don't know it, even if they don't feel accomplished after that, you know that you're helping them improve, you're helping their development. And the challenge is, like you said, being able to have that as well as having the pattern or the fancy stuff, the fun stuff that they can come out of their field like they've learned. And sometimes you have 30 minutes in the class, sometimes you have an hour. And you have to do what you can do, and it's a challenge for you guys. Yeah,
well, not just you guys; it's for us as well, and for you. I know you're looking at them, but I'm talking to you too. Like, don't get lazy. So. Well, if you do teach, and then for me, if I do teach, not to get lazy, because like frame, we said it's very beginning. That's something you should learn. So that means if we want to cause effect create an effect towards the new generation of dancers, we have to hit them at the gate when they start. Make it fun. Fancy patterns are not always the funnest thing. Yes, they're cool, but if it's so fancy that they can't execute it well, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I got this, bam, bam, bah," and then later on, one of their homies are like, "Bro, you look stupid. What was that?" Now they're gonna have a sense of like humiliation. They're like, "I thought I learned it right, and now I can't perform it right."
Yeah, and it's different when you learn something versus when you practice it, and that's something that you're gonna have to learn as a student. Is that progression is slow and it takes time, and you just have to put emphasis on your basics and fundamentals first and foremost.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. I'm still saying that he shouldn't be lecturing because this is supposed to be our conversation. But it's fun to lecture people. Whatever, Mr. High Uppity Up.
High Uppity Up. Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna walk away now.
Yeah, go away. Yeah, I'll take the show.
It's been 20 minutes, so it's been fun to have this conversation. And again, just challenge to you guys, challenge to you as well as an instructor.
Yeah, and it's all fun and games. I know we're talking smack. It sounds like it.
Oh yeah,
but at the same time, it's just our perspective. Hopefully, it'll help others, and we have fun. See you guys in the next one, and we should have ended that on a higher energy. All right, higher energy. 3, 2, 1. See you guys on the next one. Peace.
Hey, hope you guys enjoyed the episode of Morba Chats. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Morba Chats. Follow me at JBear Mixes, J.Bear Mixes. Follow Romi at Romi Sunga. And big shout out to Mellow Me Out. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook as well at Mellow Me Out. Thanks.